Hello everyone, welcome to the Bluehat SEO series. Again, we are processing one of the real-world SEO case studies here, and the project industry is language learning. As you remember, I published the first topical authority SEO case study to define it and to systemize it and to popularize it and democratize it. And over the last 3 years, I believe we achieved great results because we created a community which is bigger than actually 12,000 people, and we did publish over 500,000 words to scientifically prove everything. And in this Bluehat SEO video, as in others, we will give you 3 simple SEO suggestions so that you can utilize them very easily and quickly. If you watch all of the Bluehat SEO videos, you will realize that every video gives actually a unique suggestion, which means that even if some of the suggestions or ideas make sense for this context too, you won't see them in this video because I give every suggestion only one time. That's why I will suggest you to watch the previous Bluehat SEO videos as well. If you are a fan of or follower of the holistic SEO, this video might be a little easier for you, but still you will be able to get the value in this area. And the project language here is English, the industry is language learning, and we are a language learning app, at the same time a community. This was one of the actually most friendly SEO campaigns for me because the owners of this project, they are highly educated, very kind, polite, and friendly people. That's why it was very delightful for me to working with them together. And another advantage is that they are linguists, which means they know multiple languages. Every person in this project maybe know actually 5 languages, which means that I am the most ignorant person in the project, to be honest. But still, I felt great because whatever I tell in terms of the linguistic systems or linguistic semantics, formal semantics, they were able to understand everything in a very easy way. The hard part, it was coming from their occupation because they are teachers. And teachers tend to create websites in a way that they talk like in a classroom, which is very different. So I needed to tell them that, look, you are creating a document for teaching people, but in semantics, we need to give actually our ideas, opinions, or subjective declarations after the overall representative main answers. So that's why our suggestions in this project will be about that. And as you can see here, the broad core algorithm update in August, quality updates in August, and also helpful content update in September. It affected the website in a very positive way. We can do some comparisons in this area by comparing last 3 months to each other. And as you can see, the increase is pretty obvious. If the average position is a little bit fixed, it means that we are ranking for more queries while increasing actually our clicks as well. If we can make it like last 3 months, in my also private holistic SEO coaching group to do over 50 people, I explained the topical map of this project in a very detailed way. And I also showed them how I structure the internal links, revise the articles one by one. Maybe in the future for also the course community as well, we can publish them. Or if I write a case study about this project, I can also include them inside the article as well. But in the context of Bluehat SEO, I will keep things simple by giving you 3 main suggestions. So year over year, you can realize that actually we have doubled the traffic. Impression amount has been increased actually 40%, and the average position also has been increased as well. So things are actually going pretty positive for this website. But first thing that I will tell you is that the content in the area that we increase the traffic in a really good way, and the content that the traffic was actually stale, they are nearly the same. But what changed in this area actually represents for us how we should be approaching the search engine optimization. The first thing that you should realize here is that from time to time, these peaks that comes due to the actually certain type of trends or trending search demand, let's say, it helps us to actually be tested by the search engine further. And also you should realize that sometimes we increase actually impression, but clicks are not increased in the same way. Most of these actually, the trends or the search trend increases, they are coming from basically 2 different things. First of all, suddenly we actually increase our appearance for some of the queries because search engine tests us. Second is that the test reason is that the search behavior changes suddenly, and search engine also seeks for always the new sources. You should always understand one main thing. In my SaaS SEO case study, when I actually explained to jukesms.com, I have shown you something like this. We have actually increased our impressions in a really huge or the big way, and this happened actually during the May updates. And if you check the update frequency, or if you keep a look, you can realize that there are some certain type of quality updates during this area too. You can also realize that some anomalies in this part. So if I go to the holistic SEO, let's say holistic SEO, SaaS SEO case study, and I will probably refreshing this case study with 5-6 more websites. I don't have enough time, and also writing case studies are taking time. Still, I'm trying to finish one of them for the last year. I believe I called it source shadowing, because in this one, do you realize this? Impression increased suddenly during the core update, but we couldn't actually come back there later. This happened because during the core update, sometimes search engine prioritizes you. But if they check that the data doesn't match their expectation, they will replace you during the rollout, and another source will be coming there. But you shouldn't be scared due to that, because eventually your site will be coming back. And actually right now this source is taking like around 2,000 clicks a day. I can also try to show you the data. You know that I like keep things transparent as much as possible to elevate the culture in the SEO industry, to make people share and not scared of sharing. And I show these data to you. None of these websites will see any kinds of harm. To be honest, I wish I could have this type of a little bit competition, but it's okay. So this is the result, and you can realize that actually the data that I have shown you, even if it is way before. This is one of the things that you should be doing, by the way. Store your data and remember it with concepts. So source shadowing means that actually on some certain parts, we increase our appearance suddenly, but the search engine actually puts us back. The same situation also happens in this specific project too. Let me open that contextual search, and probably I will be able to find my case study here. And in this area, I will suggest you to watch please read these case studies. And this website already has been published in a very successful way. This is actually team color codes, and I can also show you the current situation. Again, I am telling that the website won't be seeing any kinds of harm from it. I am showing it because the same type of actually source shadowings also happened here. And you can realize that here, for instance, what happens here, we are ranking for certain type of queries, but then we'll lose the relevance. But it doesn't mean that it is bad, because eventually you will be coming back here, and during the core update and the helpful content update, you can realize that traffic actually became way much better. So I might actually refresh this case study too, but you should understand that while managing a company and marrying, going to the conferences, managing a community, updating the course, and writing the case studies, it's not that easy to actually update everything, protect every source as well. So that's why I'm trying to create the best possible SEO portfolio for entrepreneurs, and also our future shape or future version of our community. So you can watch these things, you can remember these things, and you can use them for making your life better. Personally, I don't earn something from here, to be honest, but I guess eventually, once we have that vision, it will be helpful for everyone. Anyway, so let's start with the suggestions. I believe I have explained the background, the mindset, and the information check here, and you can realize that the results become better. So the first Bluehat SEO suggestion for this specific SEO case study is that if you have some signals for source shadowing and source testing during this type of peaks, be sure that if you start to optimize things and continuously optimize everything, you will eventually be recognized by the search engine, and you will increase your traffic in a really good way. To be able to fasten that process, you will need to put a kinds of guest date for the future helpful content updates or the broker algorithm updates, and you will need to start to refresh your website overall. And you should understand that the content in this area and content in this area is actually the same. Only difference is coming from the search engine's understanding. So the first suggestion too is that recognize when the search engine tests you and what type of shadowing you are experiencing due to some of the competitors, and then be prepared for common or sudden, let's say, rankings like this. If this happens, then you will need to continue to actually complete your topical map. You can't trust your current state. It won't be permanent. None of the clicks or the impressions are permanent. They have been deserved, but they have been taken back in the favor of another source. That's why you will need to continue to actually complete your topical map. I will be giving you one more suggestion. The second suggestion is that when you actually parse your topical map, I will keep it short here, but basically this is what we are, language learning app. And this here actually requires you to understand how you can actually parse your, let's say, the main context as much as possible. And here you actually have language learning app, which is great. And in this area, you should understand language actually is an entity type, which is directly a class name. And under this class name, there are two contexts. One of them is actually how to learn a language. And then you will need to have some other sections like how to learn, let's say, English. And in this area, you should be an authority first for the language, then the language learning, and you will need to parse this predicate. If you read my other case studies, like the predicate, I can find it. There is also a video in our channel, and you can understand actually how to expand a topical map for higher topical authority. And there are lots of examples in these specific case studies. You should read them. But when it comes to the learn part here, it actually means whatever you can do with a language. It might be speak, it might be, let's say, listen, it might be sing, it might be read, it might be something else as you wish. It might be even cursing, to be honest. So whenever you have these contexts under this lexical entailment, you will need to match all these things first with the language concept. Then from here, you will need to match it with the English. When it comes to learning the English, you will need to also understand what are the lexical related components of the language. For instance, grammar. Under that, you will have, let's say, suffixes. Then you will need to multiply these adjectives, suffixes, prefixes with every language. Plus, you will need to also go with the concept of linguistic together with the history, which means that you will also need to process of English history. And this is what I do in this specific area. I didn't go after only from, let's say, the specific type of language learning or lessons. I actually explained overall linguistics and every history of every language, literature and poets, poems. And these are the things, by the way, also. Let's say when you say the read, it will bring the topic of books, or let's say the poem, or let's say something else, even the theater, etc. Sorry for writing it wrong. And these type of things too. Now from here, you will be going also for the song context, for instance, or the English songs, lyrics, or some other sections as well. My main point here is that when you create your topical map, first focus on the lexical relations, focus on the concepts itself. This is something that I call actually conceptual parsing, which means that I have a main type of, let's say, target here. The main target here is actually language learning app. And based on language learning app, I directly actually go after this specific context. Then I realize that there are two different actually conceptual types here. One is the languages itself as a concept. Then we also have this specific type of predicates that we can actually use for this language. And the third suggestion from me is, it is a little bit more different, but also you should understand the perspectives. When it comes to the perspectives, you should realize that and recognize that when you write these articles, you can write it from the angle of a linguistics or linguist, from a teacher perspective, or from also a student perspective. You can also write it from the angle of someone who tries to just speak in that language or curse in that language. Or you can also write and read it from the angle of a historian, or let's say a kind of comparison context too. My main point here is that when you write these things, you should understand the value of the perspective. So I won't go deeper in this area because none of the broad core algorithm update and helpful content update analysis that came from the industry didn't understand the value of this perspective concept. And when most of the actual analysis that are done, they just get the winners, then the losers, then they just speculate here. But the results actually were already clear from the search engine, and there is a reason that user-generated content is actually ranking very much higher, and hosts for this UGC content actually ranks higher too. The main reason there is that actually perspectives are richer there. As you recognize, in my system, usually I use these two concepts. One of them is actually knowledge domain, the other one is actually the contextual domain, which means that both of these things are actually important. Knowledge domain and contextual domain are not same. It also means that when you increase your topical coverage, you will also need to increase your actually contextual coverage too. So in my system, if you are in the course community member, you already do this without noticing that. I didn't add this concept directly to my fundamentals list because it might actually confuse people. So that's why I didn't add it. But contextual richness is directly connected to the perspectives. That's why in my contextual vector, which represents actually how I cover these things, in what order, in what priority, in what weight, or overall, let's say, coverage, in that area, most of the time I ask questions from every perspective. And this also brings us to the thing that I said earlier. What I said there, I said that when it comes to the teachers or linguists plus teacher, so they understand what I tell very easily because they are linguists, but they are not able to write like that because they write like they're in the classroom because they are teacher. That's why my suggestion or main suggestion to you here is that the third suggestion is that differentiate plus separate your main representative factual answer from the perspectives at the same time. Which means that when we ask a specific type of question, first give the facts, first give actually specific type of main answers, overall answers, then go for deeper. For instance, if we tell you that actually how to learn English fast, for instance, the fast will be changing from a person to person. The fast learning actually it will mean something else for a child. A child can actually learn a language maybe in 7 years. I am talking about extra language, not the mother language. They learn the mother language way much faster, of course. But a child actually might learn the language in a longer period of time, but still it will actually mean fast. That's why first you should be giving actually a certain type of, let's say, an overall factual answer, like by saying, sorry for this, I guess it will be fixed now. Okay. There are, let's say, 6 main ways of learning English faster. Let's say, then you can give the first, then you can give the second, etc. And after all of these things, in this part, you can actually make it a little bit more unique for your own perspective. You can tell that actually to teach. And this is important because you are using now teaching angle, teaching perspective, not just to learn. You change the role, you change the perspective to, let's say, a child. And this will be bringing the perspective actually again the teacher and also the parent or maybe aunt, etc., relatives, or these type of things. So in this case, once you give your specific type of answer, go for the deeper parts or deeper sections. And this brings me to actually the 4th suggestion. When it comes to creating these type of perspectives, please do not overdo that. If you overdo it, eventually you will be breaking your semantic structure. I am sure about it because you might not have enough level of experience there. That's why start to add extra questions. The previous video that I will be adding actually, it will be about trending notes. Trending notes will be helpful for you to understand these type of picks and how to evaluate them. And the one before that, it is about long form question answering. It is also helpful for you to understand how you should be parsing these contexts with sub questions. And if you feel that you are actually adding too much coverage or too much weight here, then actually you will be diluting the prominence of the next section. If this is a web page and if you keep this section too long with just your ideas, the next section will lose the prominence and overall web document will be more distant from the macro context or the main entity and the attribute that you are focusing in the context of your actual source, which is language learning app. So you want to create these connections as much as possible. That's why my suggestion to you is that try to prioritize these type of perspectives according to your actually audience's search behaviors plus annotations in the queries. We can go to the annotations in the queries later. So before ending, I will be giving you a few more suggestions. Actually, I need to attend a meeting with Diego. You know the Diego, and you can watch his actually testimonial about of all these things and review about our course in our channel too. So sorry for being a little bit late, Diego. One more suggestion from me is understand the glue benchmark. If you want to go deeper, you can actually, if you want to understand how the natural language understanding is working. And in 2021, I told you that natural language understanding, natural language processing, and natural language generation, it will be determined the winner of the SEO game in the future. And I say that in purpose because I said it years ago, and right now we are in that age. When you get the glue benchmark, you will understand the linguists and machine capacity and limitation for the linguistics. It will be helpful for you to understand how you can structure a document in a better way, visually, and also code structure and also language structure as well. And you should also understand definitely perspective angle. If in the future, if I create a kind of video for helpful content update just for that, I will focusing on that, but I will suggest you to not care about the most of the public analysis that are being done on the Twitter or somewhere else. Most of them are just for hyping and taking the attention, unfortunately. This is the main difference actually, because if you also watch the Pavel Klimekov's interview in my channel, you will get the concept of Google Sheep, Google Proxy. Just read in this area. They say that while we want to be really transparent about how search works, we also have to be careful not to reveal too much detail that will allow people game to our search results and degrade the experience for everyone. We learned this lesson that hard way. Back in the 1990s, Google's founders published a seminal paper on PageRank, a key innovation in Google algorithm. Once the paper was published, spammers tried to game Google by paying each other's links. This means that, of course, Google actually tries to sometimes ease the things, but they do these things as long as it's helpful for them. And most of these analyses on Twitter or different type of places, they are not giving you the essence of these things. To get the essence, you need a community like the holistic SEO communities, and you need the tests like this. And based on that, I will suggest to actually follow the Amit Singhal. Before Google was very much more actually transparent due to the actually also propaganda reasons, because Google was not the leading company before, and they needed to do the propaganda way much bigger. They needed way much higher actual hype. That's why actually Amit Singhal, Max Kaz, or this type of people were very much more open. And with that said, I will read this section for helping you a little bit further. I will suggest to read also this, how Google is ranking. This is the most extensive research that has been done about how Google ranks by gathering all the researches, and there are actually multiple websites here that you can actually directly examine as well. If I come to that part one more time, let me try to come. I will focus on information for aging later too. In fact, my Budapest speech will be actually giving things about that. So let's read this. You will get the main idea. Query processing is part of the relevant understanding between documents and the queries. A search engine can re-rank a document based on the query term match or terms from the query and the proximity to each other within the document. The query log includes a query input and a search behavior instance. A query can be clustered with other queries if the query is searched just after the other queries. Re-ranking search results based on a query log is a patent belonging to Google. Its methodology is basic and fundamental. The adjacent queries or sequential queries directly from the course can be used to understand relevant queries, and if a query is more related to the other query, the rankings can change since the possible search activities will change. Thus, creating correct contextual vectors and understanding the contextual domains are important. Directly my terminology and my inventions, there are some essential terms from the patent such as lexical similarity measure, frequency of the query, query utilization, initial query, temporally related query, lexically related query, and language model. Language model is directly what I told here, teach or learn. Perspectives are connected there. Lexically related queries are the query terms that are related to the meanings, and temporally related queries I might include trends or small contextual bridges between them. The frequency of a query can trigger query utilization via the iterative re-ranking process. I am reading this for you because the topical map that you are creating will need to calculate all these possibilities. The reason that some websites are de-indexed from certain type of queries is whenever the search engine changes its lexically related queries, whenever they change the distance between queries and connected entities between them, relevance scores are changing one more time, and you are losing rankings or gaining the rankings. That's why when you create your topical map and semantic content network design, you will need to be prepared for all these possibilities. And it is one of the reasons that I suggest actually for going after all these things. Of course, under 25 minutes, there are many things that I should be explaining, but this is a Bluehat video, and lately I also started to do Bluehat videos a little bit more detailed. So since I have given you actually more than 3 suggestions, I believe, and some hints and some documents to read and opportunities to join us, now I want to promote some other SEOs. As you know, I started to promote one SEO per week for every Bluehat SEO video, but now I will increase the count because it makes me happy, and I want to show you that when you promote others, when you mention others, it won't harm you in any other way. And let's promote and give these people actually their right. So the Palash Nak, I believe he is maybe Vietnam or somewhere else. He's a very kind gentleman. He's a member of our course community and public community as well. You can also join if you want. And be sure that you're answering the questions. There are over 2,000 people who wait to join here. Just because they didn't answer the questions, I didn't allow them to join. And he asked a very good question. He tells that when we ask the question of how old is Tanjiro in the Demon Slayer anime, if we give this answer, which answer is actually better? This is what we call as the micro semantics. If you tell Tanjiro is 25 years old and his birth date is December 2, 2002, or Tanjiro is 25 years old and his birth date is December 2, 2002. Which answer is better, he is asking. I couldn't recognize this question, but Harry, who is a friend for us, he made me to recognize it. This is a great question, and for this question, I would like to give him actually lifetime membership for the Semantic SEO course, and at the same time, I will need to tell you that the first one is better. Usually, it is true that when you make the answer is actually shorter, it is better, but you should understand that when we say the shorter, we mean the token count. And in this case, you will need to understand the concept of sentence. sentence tokenization and sentence tokenizer. And in this area, when we look at this answer, the first answer actually has just one token and all the information is directly here. When you look at the second one, there are two sentences, which means two tokens, and they will need to match this Tanihiro to this specific reference. And in fact, inside the paragraph, if you have another male character, then this his pronoun might cause us a co-reference error. So sometimes you will need to focus on what token actually means. Token doesn't mean always the word, it also means actually how many sentences you are using. Another thing is that I will suggest you to use the actual Demon Slayer anime directly together with the Tanihiro, because this might be a bit a different context. I will also suggest you to write the day of the week as well. You can also give the supporting answer like the birth location or other type of things, like what was happening in the parallel of this specific date in the context of the anime as well. It will be better. And this is what we call as the micro semantics. We are optimizing every teeny tiny detail, which means every pixel, every letter, every byte, every millisecond, every user is counted in the SEO. This is the mindset of holistic SEO. And when it comes to the promotion this week, Chris Koso from our private community and public community, he has shared his results. And I would like to promote him and I would like to thank him for sharing his results as well, for inspiring other people too. I'm very grateful for having him in our community as well. If you want to join our community, you can use this specific newsletter subscription link. I will put also to our description area. Soon we will be activating it as an AI newsletter and we will continue to promote different type of members in our community. So I already have spent here 26 minutes. I try to keep everything short as much as possible. Love you all. I will be in the Budapest next week, and due to the marriage, things are still a little bit busy because I'm going conference, writing case study, doing the coaching sessions, and then I am going to the wedding, engagement, and other things. It's a bit chaotic era. I am trying my best for everyone. I hope you understand me, and I'm going to talk to Diego right now. Love you all, and see you later.